So as I've studied the Two of Wands over the past few weeks, I'm really glad that I'm on this card because it has given me a lot more of a perspective of what's going on today and in the world today, and it has given me a different outlook on it. It's made me look at the possibilities, the potential that's there. So I want to share this card with you. I don't have answers to what's going on. I don't really have a lot to add to it. I don't want to speculate, but I do feel like I want to share just the things that I've gotten from this card that have helped me. So first of all, I want to go ahead and look at the RWS card. And on this card, there's a man and he's on a balcony. He's overlooking this beautiful landscape. He has the globe in his hand. He has two wands beside him. And I think that he is really just observing everything. He's just looking at this landscape, looking at all the possibilities, the potential that's there. And he's in a planning stage. He's looking at what can he do. Even though he's stuck on this balcony, he can't really go anywhere, but he's trying to figure out what's his next move. What is his next action? And the wands are about action and making things happen. But if you're stuck in a place and you don't really have that possibility of going anywhere, then there are things that you can still do. There are appropriate actions that can still be taken. And I think that it's interesting because on that card, the man's expression was pretty much neutral. But if we look at the Modern Spellcasters Tarot, we can see that this man is different. This man, he is looking at this bird, but he has more of a sense of hope. And he just has this look on his face of inspiration. And even though one of his hands is tied and one of his legs is tied to the wands, and he can't go anywhere, and he's stuck sitting on this stump, it just makes me look at this and think, okay, you know what? He still is looking at the fact that he can do stuff where he's at. He can still move his arms, his one arm and his one leg around, and he can still do things while he's there. So he's not totally immobilized, and he's looking at the positive. And on his shoulder, you can see on his sleeve, he has the yin and yang symbol. And this is a very balanced, very stable card for a situation like this. And, there's this polarity that exists. There are people that are panicked in situations, and there are people that are maybe a bit too careless. And then there's that medium ground. And I think that's what that yin and yang symbol represents right there. So if we look at the Steampunk Tarot, we can see that polarity. We can see that this man, on the other hand, is rather worried looking, filled with anxiety. And I know that we're going to be there from time to time. This is a tough situation that we're in. And I know that not everything can be, all sunshine and, everything can be all beautiful and light. And there are times where we're going to get to this place. And that's okay. That's a part of being human. So I like this card as well because it also puts that into perspective. But again, I think that there's a balance, We have to try to find things in our lives that put us back into a place where we're focusing on things that are making us feel like there is hope and that there is the possibilities of moving forward. And so, possibilities, that's what the Osho Zen has written on the bottom of the Two of Wands. And the sun's coming up. So there'll be a new day there. This will pass, we'll get past all of this. We'll move forward and things won't always be this way. And, but think of the possibilities now, what can happen now. And so that brings me to another card. This card I don't have. I was talking to a friend of mine. We were exchanging messages and they sent me an image of the Two of Wands and from the Starman Tarot. And I looked at it and I was really blown away by this card. I just was really pondering things and really thinking about, the meaning of all of the symbols and things that are on this card. It was just really deep. And so I want to share that card with you. That card has an image of a guy on a rooftop of a building. And in the background, there's this building and it looks like, there's been some sort of catastrophe. And there's this mist all around it. It's full of smog and pollution. And there's a pyramid coming out of that part of the card. I can't remember which side it's on, but there's a pyramid coming out. and there's a UFO up there at the top, and it just made me think about all kinds of things. And I think that's good. That's healthy to think about our situation. At the same time, we have to be careful. We have to kind of hone those things in and, not speculate and just throw all kinds of information out there, because, there's a lot of things that we just don't know. We can still think about those things and think about developing our ability to discern the real from the fake, because it's getting harder. You look at media, you look at, things on YouTube, and you're like, what is real? What is fake? What is going on here? This man is in the midst of all of this stuff, all these different types of information coming at him, but he's above it all. And he can see that landscape, just like on the RWS. He can see that landscape, and he can see what's going on around him, and he can make sense of it. So I think that that's something that we have to practice doing as well. And like I said, it can be difficult. It can be difficult. It's a lot of deception. Another thing that struck me about this card was that pattern on the card, that hexagonal shape. So we know that the hexagon is the symbol for creation. I talked about it in a video that I did on symbols. And, with creation, when we create stuff on Earth, we can recreate, holograms. We can create video games. And computer programmers, they use that shape, the hexagon, to create these digital worlds. They used to use more of a grid, kind of like a latitude and longitude, to create these different scenes that you see when you play a video game, and to make you feel immersed in that whole environment. Well, they found out that the hexagonal pattern works so much better, and they can get a much more rich environment from using that.
Remember who the real enemy is.
Possible.
So I thought that was really interesting, and I also saw that pattern on the Science Tarot. And I thought, wow, that pattern is popping up a lot. And I was wondering, what significance does it have here? But I thought about it more, and I thought, okay, well, this is a star nursery. It's about creation. And, it's the opposite spectrum of the nebula that I talked about in my Ace of Wands video, where you have the death of a star. Well, a nebula can also be the birth of a star, the birthplace of a star. And so, with that, you get creation. And it's interesting that with this creation, you get that hexagonal pattern throughout, not just Earth, but the entire universe. But it's still really interesting to see that pattern around the Earth, and to think about, how images and holograms are created. And so that card just took my mind to some really interesting places. But like I said, it's important to mediate that. And I think that this card right here, the Neon Moon Tarot, the Two of Wands from that, it kind of illustrates that point. This person, again, is in a post-apocalyptic world, and you can see buildings destroyed in the background, and their face is partially covered. And I do want to point out also that on the Starman Tarot, he's wearing a face mask as well, because these environments are toxic. There's things in these environments that are harmful, and so they're trying to protect themselves. And also, this person, instead of looking at a globe like on the RWS, they're looking at a cell phone. And I think that has, again, the potential to be polarized. I mean, you can look at information that puts you in a negative state, more like on the Steampunk Tarot, or you can look at stuff that's going to put you in more of a positive state, like on the Modern Spellcasters. And I think that is important to balance out, and that yin and yang symbol reminds me of that. And so that's the card that I've been focusing on, during this time. And it's really helped me a lot to remember, there are things that I can focus on, taking care of my body, working out, making sure I'm trying to at least think about not overeating during this time, and to maybe read or catch up on some things that are going to help me once this thing, blows over, because it will end. The element that I want to talk about is zirconium. So zirconium it's been around for a long time, since the formation of Earth, and it is known as zircons when it's embedded inside of rock. So these zircons would embed inside of different minerals, and we dig these things up from time to time. And we use zirconium, and these zircons that have been around, these smaller pieces of it embedded in rock, they are very tough. They're very good at keeping things out. They're very good at isolating themselves from the environment around them. And so because of that, they just remain very pure throughout time. They've been very, very stable. However, there were many of them that were allowing uranium to pass through. Uranium is one of the elements that could get inside. And if you know anything about uranium, you know that it's radioactive and it decays. So when it decays into lead. And lead was one of the big things that was leaching into many substances. Now, it's kind of ironic though, because you've got this uranium getting inside and then decaying and becoming lead. So it's like that toxic environment gets created from the inside out. And I think that it reminds me of like all of us being in our homes and we're keeping this toxic stuff out. But within our homes, there's also things that are toxic. There could be things that are toxic, things that we can see on media. So when I think about this card, I go back to this, it reminds me of like, what are we looking at and how much of it are we consuming? Because if you're looking at it too much, it could put you in that Two of Wands state from the modern spellcasters, like I mentioned. So balance that out. And I think that we are very tough. I mean, human beings have been through so many things as just as human beings in general. I mean, we've been through so much and we've come from that. Zirconium is extremely tough. Zirconium is one of those things that they line the fuel cells or the fuel cells for nuclear power plants. So those pellets that they use to power these plants, those things are surrounded by zirconium because zirconium is so tough that it can't damage the zirconium. And then they also use it for crucibles for lab instruments, because crucibles in labs, because you can put all kinds of corrosive stuff in there. You can put acids in there. Anything that is hot or gonna maybe damage other types of crucibles, you can put them in those types of crucibles because they can withstand it. And I think that we're like that. We're tough, just as tough as zirconium. I mean, zircons and zirconium were made by this planet. We were also made by this planet. We're part of this planet. We're just as tough. It made us just as tough, and we can get through things, and we can survive situations that are thrown at us. So we look at all these exterior things in this world and we think that they are so much above us. But you look at the guy in the Starman Tarot, he is above all of those things, and he is taking that power in his hands, and those wands look so powerful. You have so much potential. You have so much that you can do right now to just overcome this situation, and when it's done, you might even be in a much better place, a much better spot. You'll come up with new things. You'll come up with new ideas. I was able to the other day watch the sunrise. So I got up, I went out on my balcony and I watched that, and it was just amazing. It looked even more beautiful than when I'd seen it. I couldn't even remember the last time I'd seen it because I've been waking up so early to go to work, and it was even more beautiful than I remember because the fog and the not the fog, but the smog and the pollution is clearing up, and pollution levels are lower. So it looked different. The oranges were like way more orange than I remember. The purples in the sky, everything was so amazing. Zirconium, when it's mixed with oxygen, it's zirconium oxide, and zirconium oxide is known as cubic zirconia. So cubic zirconia is called the poor man's diamond, but it really shouldn't be. It is made during the same types of processes. It is just as beautiful. It's just below it on the hardness level. It's hard to distinguish it. you can look, it takes a trained eye in a lot of cases. But yet it gets downgraded to almost a level of plastic. But it is an amazing crystal. And I think that, we can look at our situation in the perspective of being a zirconium as a poor man's diamond, or we can look at it as being, the best value. I mean, we put so much value when, the way things were before. We put that lifestyle, those things that we thought were so important, up on a pedestal. But was it really that great? Was it really ideal? I'm still thinking about the situation. I don't have really answers to it. I don't have all of the conspiracy behind it or anything like that. I mean, I think that I have a feeling that some things will come out and we'll find out some things. But like I said, that's just what I think. I don't want to speculate, but I'm just watching this thing just like this guy, on the RWS, just like you are. We're just watching, right? Watching that particular scenario unfold and doing what we can in the meantime. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Will. This is Atypical Tarot. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.